Hello everyone, welcome to our role-play video. We have chosen Scenario 5, Tax Planning and Tax Avoidance, with the same title with the bottom line.
Against the backdrop of increasingly fierce commercial competition, all enterprises aim to boost profits and cut costs. Nevertheless, as the demand for tax reduction grows stronger, the dividing line between legitimate tax planning and aggressive tax avoidance often becomes a critical ethical dilemma for businesses.
Okay everyone, this is the company's tax data for this year. The company's actual tax rate was 22% last year and has risen to 28% this year. Due to the growth in profit, we need to pay more corporate income tax. If we maintain the status quo, the company's net profit this year will drop significantly.
More importantly, the financial reports released by our competitors this year show that the effective tax rate is significantly lower than ours. Shareholders have begun to question, why can others pay less in tax, while we have to pay so much? If the tax burden cannot be reduced as soon as possible, the company will become increasingly passive in the market competition. The board of directors has asked me for improvement plans to increase profit for 2 consecutive months. If the net profit this year fails to reach the target, not only will I not receive the performance bonus, but the company's investment plan for next year may also be cut.
We have already utilized the normal tax incentives, but the effect is limited. If we want to further reduce the tax burden, we must adopt more proactive tax planning methods.
Today, I only have one requirement. We need to decrease tax. If the risk can control and decrease the tax, our company can do anything to try to decrease it.
Mr. Zhang, I know the company is under a lot of pressure, but we are talking about today is tax planning, not tax evasion. Tax planning can truly help business minimize, defer, or even eliminate tax costs. However, all agreements must stay within the ambit of tax legislation. Tax evasion can lead to legal punishment.
I'm not asking you to break the law. What I need is a solution. However, I hope you won't always tell me no.
We have several legal ways to do tax planning. First, we can probably change the time when we record income and expenses. Second, we can make better use of tax deductions and capital allowances. Third, we can largely apply for government investment tax incentives, such as pioneer status or investment tax allowances. There are all tax breaks clearly written in tax laws, instead of exploiting legal loopholes.
How much can we decrease?
If we choose the safe and legal plan, we can reduce tax by about 10% to 12%.
No, not enough. The competitor is not only to do like this. Look at its competitors. Last year's effective rate only had 16%. If we can do, why we cannot do it, and why we need to do the model model.
Mr. Zhang makes a valid point. Market competition is growing increasingly fierce. If our tax burden remains higher than our competitors, our products will lose price competitiveness, which will ultimately hurt all employees and shareholders of the company. In addition, we are facing mounting pressure on cash flow. Beyond corporate income tax, we have ongoing outlines for staff salaries, payments to suppliers, and interest on bank loans. Reducing our tax liability would allow the company to return more cash for reinvestment into business operations. This is a proposal drafted by our finance department. Theoretically, we could further lower our tax burden by reallocating profit attribution.
But I must remind you, if these agreements do not have really business purpose, the tax office will consider this as tax avoidance.
Consultant Zhang, I must let you know. Don't tell me that it's impossible. Company now need a result.
Tax planning can be legal, but it cannot be only for avoiding tax payment. If a transaction has no really business purpose, even if it looks legal on surface, it may still break anti-avoidance rules. I understand the company's business pressure, but we do not know why our competitors pay lower tax rates. They may get added tax benefits or have government-approved tax incentives. It's also possible their business structures are simply different. We cannot just assume they are avoiding tax only because their tax burden is smaller than ours.
Consultant John, we all have the company's best interest at heart. We can adopt a more flexible approach. As long as we keep it under the radar, there won't be any issues. Fierce competition prevails across the industry right now, and every player is cutting costs. Sticking regionally to compliance will only erode our price competitiveness.
Not being found out does not mean it's legal.
Mr. Zhang, even if competitors do adopt aggressive tax avoidance strategies, this does not mean it is the right approach. Short-term cost advantages cannot outweigh the long-term legal risks. The company should not only focus on short-term benefits, instead, it should emphasize respect, integrity, and fairness. Enterprises also have the obligation to fairly fulfill their tax obligations.
Fairness. Marketing competition never say fairness.
However, the purpose of the tax system is to maintain social fairness. If all companies reduce their responsibilities through aggressive tax avoidance, public resources will ultimately be affected.
Mr. Zhang, look at this. I have to say that, from an auditing perspective, this plan is highly risky.
Continue.
If the company's operations have no obvious changes but profits are suddenly moved to a low-tax region, even if it lowers the tax burden in the short term, it will be very hard to pass the audit. Moreover, once the RBM initiates a tax investigation, the investigators will not only check the tax returns, but they will also look at the contracts, invoices, bank statements, board meeting minutes, accounting watches, and all relevant commercial documents. They will judge whether these transactions are real and whether they will have a reasonable commercial purpose. If there is insufficient evidence, it could be deemed as intentional underreporting of income or illegal tax avoidance. The tax authorities will be suspicious. Is this arrangement purely to reduce the tax burden?
That is the business strategy. We need to decrease the tax burden.
Well, no offense, I have to say a real business strategy needs a genuine commercial purpose. If there is no economic substance behind it, we are not just risking bad taxes and massive fines later. We are risking a bad audit opinion and our company reputation.
I also need to make this clear. I cannot support a plan whose only main goal is to tax avoidance. As a tax agent, I need to do not only help business cut tax costs, but also follow professional ethics. We always stress that a tax agent must stay professional, honesty, transparent, and have integrity. If I know a plan breaks the law yet still advise the company to adopt it, this will not only go against the professional ethics, but also violate the respect, integrity, and fairness highlighted by ADAP.
So all of you are opposing me. Are you guys helping company or bringing the obstacle to company?
Mr. Zhang, we are protecting the company. We are not opposed to reducing tax burdens, but we oppose crossing the legal and ethical boundaries. While business naturally seek profits, fulfilling their tax obligations is also a social responsibility. If every company focuses solely on minimizing taxes, funding for public services such as education, healthcare, and public transportation provided by the government will be affected.
So all of you, did you know the board gave me how much pressure? If our profit decrease, the shareholder will make trouble to me. If competitors are decreasing tax, why we need to follow the tax rules?
Mr. Zhang, there is still room for legitimate tax planning. For instance, we can apply for pioneer status or investment tax allowance if we meet the eligibility criteria. These are legal tax incentives offered by the government to boost investment.
Yes, these methods do not work as fast as aggressive plans, but they are legal, clear, and safe for the company. Truly good tax planning should first make use of the incentives given by law, instead of creating artificial deals just to cut tax burden.
What is truly dangerous is not paying back taxes. It's letting the company bear the consequences of illegal actions just to pay less tax. Mr. Zhao, I must remind everyone, if the company's arrangement is purely for willful evasion rather than normal business activities, it won't just be a simple matter of back taxes. According to Section 114 Sub 1 of the Income Tax Act, once it's deemed as a willful evasion, the responsible persons in the company could face 3 punishments. First one, a fine of 1,000 ringgit to 20,000 ringgit. The second one, a maximum of 3 years imprisonment. The third one, and a special penalty equal to 3 times the amount of tax underpaid.
Mr. Zhang, we understand the pressure the company is under. However, tax compliance is not a burden for the company. Rather, it is a guarantee for the long-term development of the enterprise. An outstanding company pursues long-term value rather than short-term tax savings. Truly excellent tax planning should help the company reduce its tax burden, while also being able to withstand legal and ethical scrutiny.
I have to admit, I only focused on profit earlier, but I overlooked the fact that businesses need not only to make money but also to take responsibility. At first, I believed that any plan reducing the company tax burden was a success. I even saw that if our competitors were doing it, we should follow suit. Otherwise, the company would be at a disadvantage. However, now I realize that truly excellent tax planning isn't about finding every possible way to pay less tax, but rather about making reasonable use of tax incentives and policies within legal boundaries to help the company achieve long-term growth.
Legal tax planning is not the same as tax avoidance. A truly professional tax agreement must follow the law and ethical standards.
Yeah, I totally agree. Being transparent, honest, and able to explain our actions, that's how we keep the company safe long term.
As a manager in the company, I'm not only to take responsible for our company's profit, but also I need to take responsible for our company's reputation, staff, shareholder, and the society. Only to do this can earn the confidence from market to achieve the sustainable development. Thanks all of you, and now I decide to take the legal tax plan.
In tax work, respect, honesty, and fairness are not just slogans. They are our working rules. Legal tax planning is wisdom. Against the law, tax avoidance is risky. Voluntary compliance and fair tax payment are the best way for long-term success.
Thank you for watching.